That's it right there. We're gonna want this level right here.
Welcome back to a fresh and exciting week at the Forest home. This week, I am diving headfirst into tiling not only the shower, but also the floor of this primary bathroom. First step is always mapping out everything. It takes a little bit of time to figure out where you want your cut pieces to be, and also to make sure that all of your edges and lines are going to be nice and straight, that that edge piece is nice and level up the side of the wall. Something else that is incredibly helpful is having an extra set of hands. In this situation, my mom was putting the thin set on the tile while I was spreading the thin set on the wall. I like to work in sections at a time, and since our tile was so large, I was able to do an entire row at a time, making sure to get the thin set on nice and liberally across the entire side of this shower, which uses up about 2.5 tiles worth. Thank you. Messy, messy, messy.
It was a lot, so I thought it's going to dry out, and then I hate it when it gets so stiff in the end. Okay, we can go with a crate.
That's the good thing about large format tiles. It goes about as fast as you can spread.
Exactly.
It goes pretty quickly with this large format tile. The main thing that I really wanted to focus on is making sure that everything was nice and flat and level. The spacing system that we use really does help with that. It helps to pull tiles out or push them in so that it's a nice flat surface between the two tiles.
Do you think you might want to do one more spacer, or do you think
That's what I was wondering
it's too big?
But boy, can I tell you, these tiles were pretty heavy. They were one of the larger styles of tile that I've worked with before. I've mostly worked with tiles that were a little bit smaller than this. So even though it went fast, it was still a pretty physically challenging job to get done.
Send your products.
Yep.
Some way. What to do? That looks good.
With the shower all done, I can now start to focus on the floor. I mapped everything out and figured out that it was the easiest to put my cut ripped pieces along that back wall, and I would end with a perfect size on that threshold near the doorway. I did decide to lay out the first couple of rows as a dry fit before actually thin setting and adhering all of these tiles in place. This just lets me make sure that I have a nice straight line to begin with, because if you start with a slightly off-center line, your entire floor will just slowly get more and more slanted. And that's the last thing I wanted, especially when I had to do the cuts around the vanity and around that neo-angle shower. Oh. End of the day mistakes. I also did not sleep very well last night. We'll just say that. Time to cut that again. Silly mistakes aside, everything else went smoothly. There is inevitably always one tile that I always cut backwards. In this case, I was pretty lucky, and the wrong tile that I did cut, I was able to use later on down the line. I've got my first 2 rows cut and dry fit in, so now I think I can go ahead, mix up some more thin set and get these ones set in place. If this is all I get done tonight, that's perfectly fine. I can go ahead and move on, let that set up, cure, and I'll pick it back up tomorrow. We're starting off the day with a rainy Friday. It's so gloomy and cozy out today, but work can't stop. Back at it. I knocked all of those tile spacers out of the way. Everything is cured. And before I continue and finish out the rest of this bathroom floor, I think I'm gonna pivot and actually grout the shower. Once I do the rest of this floor, I can't walk in here anymore for the rest of the day. So, I don't think that the floor is gonna take me all day. I think it might take me, I don't know, half a day, a couple hours. So I might as well spend my morning grouting this shower so that that has time to fully dry and cure, and it'll be ready for the glass to be installed. So that's the game plan. And I'm gonna go and mix up some grout. We picked a warmer off-white color. I don't want bright white by any means in this shower. I think something that's a little bit warmer will match the best with this tile because it is a warmer tile in general. I do have some grout left over, so I am going to actually start to grout the floor where it's already been dried and cured. I just won't bring it all the way, of course, out to where it hasn't been tiled yet, but I might as well use up what I have mixed up while it's still good. While I'm busy tiling in the bathroom, my parents are constructing the countertop for the kitchen. Right now it's on its back. You can see it has a double layer of support throughout all along the edges. And this is just about half the kitchen. It's a big U shape, so we're gonna have to determine if we're gonna have to assemble it in place or if we can somehow manage to get it in all in one piece. And as you can see with some art, that one is for the bathroom vanity. So while the kitchen countertops are getting prepped, we'll also prep for that bathroom vanity. We can put it in place after the epoxy has been poured and set up all the plumbing. And after my grouting detour is completely finished up, it's time to buckle down and finish tiling the floor of this bathroom. All in all, it took me about 2 half days worth of work to tile this floor. Even though it's a relatively large bathroom, there aren't a whole lot of complicated cuts and complicated areas to go around. For example, it doesn't have a linen closet. Linen closets, or any closet in general, can be a little bit tricky just because you have to cut under door jambs and get into tight spaces. So once I got around the vanity, the shower, and the vent, it was pretty much just straight cuts from there. Once all that tile is laid in place, it is a much more finished and clean space and will be ready for grout roughly about 24 hours later. All those many hours on my hands and knees laying all this tile is almost worth it just to have that satisfaction of knocking free those spacers. It's kind of fun to take a rubber mallet and really just get them all loose. It starts to expose all the tile and it's starting to look much more complete. And with a fresh bucket of grout, I'm back at grouting. Luckily, I just have half this bathroom to do since I did the first half the other day. grabbing the jigsaw. The first piece of baseboard I plan to install will be around the shower. I just need to cut just a tiny little notch out to fit around that tile edging so that everything sits flush against that wall. And after putting a couple of nails in, it's already looking so much more complete. I always like to pre-paint my baseboard just because it's that much less work to try to do on your hands and knees after it's installed. Of course, I'm still going to have to take a paintbrush to it after that caulking has dried down, just to address the caulked line and, of course, any nail holes that were put in by installing it in place. But usually this goes pretty quickly after you have a couple of initial coats on that baseboard. So this is a little over half of that large kitchen countertop. It's been constructed using MDF with 2 layers. All the seams have been bondoed, as well as all the edge seams have been bondoed. The next step is going to be getting some color on this top. I am going to be painting it 2 coats of the wall color just to get a nice neutral base on it. It's not going to be the end look, but it's going to help us to get some coverage on. That way, when we are looking to do our final look with the epoxy, it is actually going to have some of these neutral undertones and we're not trying to deal with just the color of the MDF. Secondly, as I'm sure you know, MDF sucks up a lot of moisture, so it's important to kind of seal it a little bit with this coat of paint, and you do have to let it gas off and fully cure for at least 24 hours before you do apply epoxy. And now, of course, MDF can be a little susceptible to moisture, so in order to prevent that, we will waterproof the underside. Of course, the epoxy is going to waterproof the top, so we'll use like a Red Guard or something like that to waterproof the underside that you won't see, specifically around the sink and the dishwasher.
Okay,
Knit it to
try to
bed.
support it best we can. Hold on.
Watch Maddie's fingers. No, okay.
Okay, hold on.
Do I need to pull it out?
No, go ahead. There it is.
Doesn't drag the plastic.
Yep. That's it right there. We're gonna want this level right here. Okay.
Well, another trip done. Everything is wrapped up. I'm packed up, ready to head home. Like usual, we got quite a bit done. Whenever I'm here, I try to make the most of it and hustle my butt off to try to really work every day and make sure my time here counts. As I discussed very briefly, we are prepping these countertops for epoxy. All of that MDF has been cut to size and glued together, and it's actually starting to resemble a countertop. Now, all the plastic in here is a different story. It kind of looks like a crime scene. We really want to make sure to protect everything. This countertop is very, very large, so that means we're gonna have to pour it in place. And in order to do that, we really want to make sure to protect everything that is already finished. Now, of course, the floor is not, so that's not as big of a deal, but all of the cabinetry, the walls, all of that, we want to make sure it is protected while that epoxy is getting poured on. And going a little further into that, unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna be here for that process. I have epoxied countertops multiple times for multiple different properties before. It is a fun and creative process. You can pretty much create a lot of different looks using it depending on the different techniques that you're doing. I think my parents are gonna be tackling that and handling that while I am gone, but it'll be exciting to see them all finished and back in place. The kitchen is gonna look completely different, and then once that's done, we can start doing the backsplash and cutting out the hole for the kitchen sink, installing a kitchen sink, everything, really finishing up and buttoning up this kitchen. I was able to get that glass installed in those big doors behind me and the last shelf installed as well, and they look amazing. I really do love the way they came out. So with all those exciting changes and exciting plans, the kitchen is that much closer to being done. And now, of course, the thing you got to see me do the most of, where I spent the most of my time this week, was this primary bathroom. It is completely turned around, a complete 180 from where it started. It is light and bright, big and spacious. As you can tell, it's a little echoey in here. We need to get some hand towels and rugs and maybe a couple bath towels. We do plan to very lightly stage this house. We're not gonna do a full staging, but it does help people to envision a space and make it a little bit less hollow sounding if you can get a couple little rugs in and things like that. All the walls have been painted, the tile has been laid on the floor, baseboards on, that vanity completely built and complete, and the shower mostly done. Now, of course, the glass surround still has to be installed. That is quite the project. That will definitely take us a couple of days, and again, it might be something that gets done and completed while I'm gone. I'm not quite sure, but it is ready for it. I do have all of the valves on except for the wand. We ran into a little bit of an issue with the wand, and I think we're gonna have to order a replacement part. Not a big deal, they do sell those. And again, that's probably something that will just get installed while I am gone. And finally, one of the last things that this bathroom still needs are the faucets and the vanity light. As you can tell, I just have the overhead lighting right now, which is overhead lighting. It's definitely needed in a space, especially like a bathroom, but it's a little bit harsh. I cannot wait till we get that vanity light and get some of that pretty glow, that pretty light in a space like this. All in all, it is coming together very, very well, and I am so excited to just absolutely finish it up. We do have the MDF countertop made and painted for this room. Again, the epoxy needs to be poured on it and it needs that waterproofing. It's just easier to do that all at once. So my parents will go ahead and epoxy this vanity top at the same time that they're doing the kitchen. That way they can mix up the epoxy all at once and get everything poured at the same time. We might go with the same look as the kitchen. We might go with something a little bit different. We haven't really nailed down the style yet. We'll probably take a look at some swatches and decide that at a later date. So thank you so much for following along on another hopefully satisfying video for you guys to watch. Again, thank you so much for watching and following along on this process. I'm having a blast. I'm pretty exhausted, worn out, but having fun doing it nonetheless. If everything goes to plan, I think that this primary bedroom is going to be the next room that's tackled, and we have a lot of our tools in here. This has kind of been the collection zone, so it's going to take a lot of moving everything out, unpacking it. The popcorn will get scraped off the ceiling. I do think we're going to remove the rest of the paneling from all of the walls and re-sheetrock any areas that need sheetrock. All of the exterior walls actually have sheetrock behind the paneling. It's just the interior walls that don't, and this bedroom has mostly exterior walls. So it should be a minimal sheetrock job. After that, the closets are gonna get addressed. That weird step up is gonna get removed. So again, that might be something that happens behind the scenes. We will just have to see. I am gonna be taking a little bit of a break from coming back here. It might be about a month or so before I am back here and back to helping renovate. There definitely will still be stuff that needs to be done. We still have to floor this entire place. So definitely keep an eye out in the next couple of weeks, and you will definitely be seeing some more content and probably some more finished rooms. Leave a comment down below. What room do you think is coming together the best so far? What are you most excited to see in the future? For me personally, my heart's still in that kitchen. I love that kitchen. And as far as exciting things to see in the future, the flooring is absolutely beautiful. And if you've ever renovated a place, you know flooring changes everything. So I think that is what I'm looking forward to the most. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe. I'll see you next time.